My name is Eric Lewis, and I'm one of the co-owners of Seneca Crossing LLC.
The applicant is requesting a variance from Section 4.6B to reduce the distance requirement from 75 feet to 25 feet to allow proposed commercial uses adjacent to the residential growth district. Larger setback standards of distance requirements are intended for situations in which the proximity of a commercial use could have a negative impact on an adjacent property with a residential or institutional use or with historic status. Currently, the adjacent parcels are vacant, but they are located in the residential growth district and have the potential to be developed for residential use. The subject parcel is part of Seneca Crossing South, which is a platted townhouse subdivision comprised of 40 townhome lots. The property owner intends to void the townhouse project and create 3 commercial lots. The subject property lines seeking a variance from the 75-foot distance requirement are currently slated for 24 of the 40 townhome units. The townhomes would have been located 20 feet from the property lines. The proposed commercial development is requesting to utilize the 25-foot building setback and will also be required to provide a narrow landscape buffer in accordance with standard detail M54. You can see on the parcel here, I've highlighted the property lines that are subject to this request. The lot is currently vacant. It has a recorded subdivision plat for the 40 townhome lots, but there's nothing on there.
Okay, and this proposal gets rid of all the townhomes and puts in these.
Correct. So it's zoned residential, light industrial, commercial. It has the right to commercial uses on that property. So this is just addressing the design criteria of this, the additional distance requirement.
In other words, it doesn't matter what's there, they have the right to request anything that's legal.
As far as use goes, I mean, it's a mixed-use category, so as long as they,
Doesn't matter if somebody else owned it before and they asked for this, and there's
Correct.
a house there and I want to do this now. Or
that's correct.
What about a second Rockwell plant? Could they put that there?
I don't believe that a Rockwell would meet our design criteria. They would require several variances. I don't even think it would fit on this parcel.
one jurisdiction.
Yeah. Actually, in residential light industrial commercial only allows light industrial uses, which are very specific, so.
Okay, sirs. Do you know Martin Tucker?
No, I don't.
No? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. Again, my name is Eric Lewis. I live in Shepherdstown, grew up in Shepherdstown. We've owned this property for over 10 years. We've been sitting on it as townhome lots due to the economy. But for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been working very hard to try and bring a medical facility to Shepherdstown. Having grown up there, I can tell you that this proposed WVU Medical Center will be the first full-service medical facility in Shepherdstown since doctors made house calls. So it's hopefully going to be a very positive thing to add to the community. As was mentioned, the property is zoned mixed use. Commercial uses are allowed on the property. We're not requesting any commercial use that wouldn't be allowed in that zone. I have been studying smart growth type of initiatives for several years. Had been working with Shepherdstown on a plan here that ultimately didn't work out. But some of those smart growth initiative aspects are walkability, proximity, closer distances, high density near towns, and services like healthcare close to residents, mixed uses close to each other. So we believe that this actually is going to be a real positive. Just to go through a couple bullet points, the project will indeed fully comply with all county setbacks. We're not asking for any changes in the setbacks, just the distance requirement. The distance requirement, as I said, is primarily to protect against existing residential uses. Obviously, there are no existing residential uses on the 2 properties that this would affect. They're large wooded parcels that don't have residential uses on them. We will comply with the buffering requirements. We're not asking for anything for that. The distance requirement, as you know, is an old standard in the zoning ordinance that predates the current comprehensive plan. And so the current comprehensive plan supports more dense growth in these urban growth, preferred growth areas. Shepherdstown calls there's the preferred growth area in the urban growth boundary. We're actually inside of that. Right, very close to the border of Shepherdstown. So this supports that whole plan. I spoke to the mayor of Shepherdstown yesterday about this. We've been keeping him fully informed. You know, in the mayor's words, you know, if we were going to object to this, we would have. And so they're not, they haven't formally voted to endorse anything, obviously, but they're not objecting. I believe they think this is a positive for the community. The plan, the comprehensive plan supports this variance because of the fact that it encourages that kind of thing. So, you know, we believe it'll have a minimum resident effect on the residences. We also believe that it's a net positive for the community to convert these townhomes into this project and bring this WVU facility in. We have a signed contract with WVU. They are here and can answer questions for you. They are ready to move forward as soon as we possibly can. They are planning an identical facility to their Inwood. I don't know if you've driven by their Inwood facility, but it's identical. The footprint's identical. Everything about it is identical, with some changes, of course, that you make when you build something and decide you want to change something down the road, but pretty much identical to that. So we believe it's going to be a real positive for the community to have a facility there, and the residents of Shepherdstown won't have to go to Charlestown or Martinsburg or Ranson to get these kinds of medical services. So the adjacent property owners, to the best of my knowledge, are not objecting. I do know Ken Lowe owns the property behind us. I've had lots of discussions with him, including yesterday and today, and I have an email from him from 11:26 a.m. today, which I forgot to print out. I could enter into the record, where he says he does not object to this. So we would, at this point, entertain any questions. Follow your lead on how you proceed.
Do you have any questions today?
No, not yet.
You have to ask.
Well, first of all, I'll confess my ignorance. Could you explain the difference between the distance?
I believe I'll defer to Steve on that, the expert, but and the staff.
I have the ordinance with me. Do you have the ordinance that I can read
Yeah.
verbatim from?
Yeah, we can have it right here.
Could you reiterate that in your staff report?
Yeah, I have the section in my staff report. The distance requirement is just an additional buffer between, it's an additional protection between different uses. So if, the ordinance currently requires it from any lot that's zoned residential growth. I think typically the idea behind it is that you're protecting it from residential uses. These lots are vacant. You know, I'm happy to review the section with you if you want me to go more in depth with it, but it's just an additional buffer between uses that are not the same.
Actually, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to the distance requirement of 75 feet, that's effectively a buffer that I can't do anything within.
Well, parking can be located in it.
Parking is right away. And of course, a setback would be anything that would fall under a building permit issuance, i.e. structure, for example.
Like a building envelope.
The building envelope would be defined by the setback.
And WVU is taking 1/3 of this?
The lot 1 will be where the WVU facility will be. Lot 2 and 3, we don't have any users for at this point. We don't know if we're going to even final plat lot 2 and 3 right away. We'll cross that bridge later when we get to concept plan and going through the planning commission. But again, we don't have any plans to request any at this point any changes to what's allowed in that zone on those two.
If I could add, lot 1, again, the WVU lot, that's approximately 1.3 acres in size. Lot 2, again, user or a tenant not defined, that's roughly 7/10 of an acre. And then lot 3, we don't have a user defined or use defined, that's roughly 8/10 of an acre. The balance of the 4.5 acres then would be used as the cul-de-sac road right-of-way to come off of the main road into the project site.
Does that answer your question?
So lot 1's taking out 24 towns.
I would say approximately, yes, sir. Give or take, yeah. All the entire townhome lot plat would be
Not
vacated.
counting the right-of-ways and.
Right, yeah, basically, the entire townhome lot plat will be vacated as part of this project. They will go away. They're recorded currently, but those townhouses would go away under this proposal.
The impact on the proposed housing is not particularly relevant to this request because I don't believe the housing is going to go forward. This particular section has not been amended as we've made these amendments through the years, and the residential growth district was specifically called out in this section, I believe, because it was intended for high-density residential development. However, these are large vacant lots. There is nothing that would prohibit Mr. Lowe or the surrounding property owners from pursuing a rezoning or a conditional use to pursue a commercial use. So I agree the variance can't be granted on what's currently proposed. However, you know, the uses can, it's not necessarily going to be a residential development on those vacant properties.
I'm always happy to deliberate.
Did you make a motion?
I move that the board go into a deliberative session.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
We're going to move to the deliberative session for a short time here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I move to go back into regular.
Item number 6, to reduce a requirement. Any further discussion by the board on this item? May I have the applicant up front, please? Entertain the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the variance from section 4.6B to reduce the distance requirement from 75 feet to 25 feet to allow the proposed commercial uses.
Adjacent to the residential growth district for Seneca Crossing LLC.
Our file number is ZV 18-21. I believe that they've met the requirement. Applicant is bound by his testimony.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Request is granted, sir.
Thank you, very much appreciated.